He who has the power has all the gold, and he who has the gold has all the power. That was the tagline given for Backlash 2001, and the two-man power trap of Stone Cold Steve Austin and Triple H winning the tag team championships, of course, also holding the WWF Championship and Intercontinental Championship. It's a mega show where they take on the Brothers of Destruction in the main event, and of course, myself and Nick Steve are in the hot seat, going to be reviewing that and everything else, including Ultimate Submission between Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle. We've got a last man standing match with Shane McMahon and the Big Show, Hardcore Championship on the line with Rhino and Raven. And let's not forget a Duchess of Queensberry match rules with William Regal and Chris Jericho. Nick Steve is in the hot seat. Thank you for joining me as always. And before we get started, a quick overall thought of what you thought of Backlash 2001.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's a very, like, do you know what I think I'll give this props for more than anything is the crowd are fantastic 90% of the way through. And I think that's what I really took away from it is like, if you look at some shows now that WWE put on, you don't get a crowd as enthusiastic the whole way through. And I think that's my biggest takeaway. So there is a definite, like you can see the time difference, like how these have changed over the year and how main event wrestling or mainstream wrestling is perceived by an in attendance crowd, because like I said, they're electric most of like 90% of the way through this, and they eat everything up. And this really, like, I think this helps elevate this show a lot more in terms of a rewind, because I think if they'd have had a crowd that was a much more sort of like child-based audience, like family-friendly audience, I don't think this show, I think this show gets rated a hell of a lot worse.
Yeah, I can see your point of view with that. Obviously, crowds can make moments, and moments make us remember stuff, and it makes a good time sitting and watching at home. So, like you say, a crowd as passionate as Chicago, which of course this show is a Chicago-based crowd in the Allstate Arena. You know, you're getting good from that fan base. They always deliver no matter what's going on. This is even pre-CM Punk days, and they still give it large. So you have to love that from them indeed. And yeah, I mean, overall, I will give some props immediately to the creativity for this show, because let's be honest, there's a lot of stipulation matches. We mentioned them already. Ultimate Submission, which of course a 30-man Ironman match that only features submissions. We hadn't really seen something like that before, not seen much of it since. We may explain why later in the video. However, Duchess of Queensberry rules match, no one had any clue what was going on with that one, but Paul Heyman certainly did. And still don't. But Paul Heyman was genius on commentary during that one. But obviously, when you have Hardcore Championships on their last man standing match, there was a lot of creativity throughout the show. And obviously, the main match of the show also is got 3 championships on the line: the WWF, the Intercontinental, and Tag Team Championships. So it felt very high stakes for a tag team match with 4 of the top stars in the company as well. So lots and lots to dive into. And Steve, just before we do, we're going to ask everyone to hit that like button, share with a friend, subscribe as well. All that good stuff to help us here on YouTube and grow as a channel and grow with the algorithm as well. As you know, it's a big help for us. As I mentioned, this is in Chicago, the Allstate Arena, and the show took place on April 29th on 2001. The attendance in this show was 15,592. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the buy rate era. Of course, that means we had 375,000 people order this show to watch it live. Commentary duo for this show was Jim Ross and Paul Heyman. Your thoughts on that commentary duo? Thought they were genius.
Solid commentary team. Paul Heyman, you're obviously used to the King at this point, but I mean, Paul Heyman is fantastic, and obviously this is post-invasion as well, so it's kind of like there is some of those, or this, do you know what I mean? There is some elements to that tied in, and just having Paul Heyman on the commentary is always a blessing, really.
I think for me, this might be my favorite commentary duo of all time. I obviously have the iconic of JR and the King, but like you say, when you try to watch back now, a lot of that stuff, it's very cringeworthy when you hear the King's jokes, and obviously, especially through the Attitude Era with the suggestive comments he makes through. Paul Heyman has those suggestive comments, but I don't know, he just has, I'm a Paul Heyman guy, I think, full stop, and he just has a way of delivering lines that are just different to anybody else, and it just connects and hits perfectly. And I think just shows why he's had that longevity since he came to WWE in 2001, and why he's pretty much, he's been fired a couple of times, but he's been the mainstay ever since. And now he's one of the mainstays for WrestleMania main events, where it was representing Roman Reigns, or turning his back on him and CM Punk to join Seth Rollins. But that's for today. Let's go back to 2001. 2001, shall we? And this had a video package to kick things off as well, pretty much just hyping the main event. It's not the most special video package you'll ever see. It had the exact tagline that had to start off the show, and pretty much who takes control. Obviously, the tag team champions are the Brothers of Destruction at this point, Undertaker and Kane. Triple H is the Intercontinental Champion, and Austin, of course, aligned himself. He sold his soul to Vince McMahon at WrestleMania X7, becoming the WWF Champion. Your thoughts on that video package?
Not the best, but it gets the point across. You know what I mean? Like, we've seen better, and it's kind of just a case of, look, like, essentially what you said. This is more about the main event than anything else on this show.
Absolutely shows it's probably the most important thing during it. But of course, to get to a main event, you need an opener. So let's go for it. A 6-man tag team match between the Dudley Boys, which includes Spike Dudley as well, against X Factor, X-Pac, Albert, and Just Incredible. Did you ever remember who X Factor were? I forgot they were a thing.
I never forget who X Factor was, because they used to use Uncle Kracker's song as their intro music. And I believe that they didn't get permission for it, so there was actually a legal case about it. So, yeah, man, I always remember they used to have the purple Titantron, like the whole X Factor thing. Yeah, never forget who X Factor was. Like, it's one of them sort of niche factions for some reason that I just can't ever forget.
It didn't last too long, sadly, for them, though. Obviously, when the invasion stuff kicks in, Just Incredible goes on to be a part of the ECW stable. X-Pac does continue on, I think, as the light heavyweight champion around that time period. Of course, he goes against Billy Kidman and Albert just fades into obscurity, I think, until he becomes A-Train in the draft a couple of years later. But yeah, still fun though to have this group a part of this show as well. And this is quite a fast-paced opener, which I quite like about it. The crowd seem well up for it, like you mentioned as well. Spike Dudley being used as a human torpedo, as Paul Heyman described him, as being thrown out of the ring by the Dudley Boys over the top rope onto the entire group of X Factor. Albert counters the Dudley Dog from Spike Dudley, but Devon Dudley is the one that takes the beat down for the Dudleys, because he's put groin first into the ring post on the outside from an atomic drop position from X-Pac and Just Incredible. The hot tag that was eventually made to Bubba Ray Dudley, and of course he gets the beat down on everyone else. And of course at that point, after clearing house, he tells Devon to get the tables. As Devon gets the table, Albert lands a bro kick to Devon on the floor. Bubba misses a splash going into the corner, and Albert then actually splashes Bubba in the corner, which leads to a double super kick from X-Pac and, of course, Just Incredible. And, of course, the pinfall victory is got from there. Beatdown continues after the match. The X-Factor want to put Bubba Ray through the table. However, the Dudleys make the comeback back into business, taking out Albert, of course, using the ring post to do so. Of course, the Dudley Dog put on Just Incredible, leaving X-Pac all alone to be given the Dudley Death Drop through the table. So, yes, the heels pick up the victory in the match, but Dudley Boys win the war. Your thoughts of this opener?
Solid opener, short, sweet, electric opening. Like, it was like chaos from the word go, because it just starts in a mass brawl. The double underhook stalling suplex that Albert hits, I think he's like fantastic. It's very rare that we see a double hook stalling suplex, and I just thought that was really good. But yeah, like, it did what it needed to do. The crowd was super into it, and it gets itself over, and it gets the job done. It's just a case of, look, it's short and sweet, and it gets the crowd going for the rest of the card. It does exactly what it's supposed to do as an opening match.
Yeah, and of course it's perfect for the hype job, really. Everyone wants tables earlier on, you know. The Wizards of the Wood, or something like that, was the tagline given for the Dudley Boys on this one. But yeah, they're perfect for a crowd pop at the start of the show. And like you say, when you get that table spot as well to complete the match, even in defeat, it makes people happy and it gets people sort of into what's going to happen for the rest of the show. And this match doesn't outstay its welcome either. It's only 8 minutes long as well. So yeah, does a solid job from me. What would be the star rating for you for this one?
Again, I think time is the factor why I'm rating this one so low. I gave it 2.25. Like I said, I think it was just a good way to start a show, but it's nothing special in ring. And do you know what I mean? It serves its purpose for the crowd more than anything.
Yeah, I gave it a 2, just purely because of the fact I had it as down as like it's a perfect TV quality match. It's what you'd expect to see on a Raw or a SmackDown every week. It's not anything outstanding for pay-per-view, but at that point, that was what you saw on Raw and SmackDown every week, was people going through tables. So it felt like it still was a pretty cool moment regardless. But we will give Dave Meltzer ratings as well. So let's quickly have a look and see what he's got to give. He's also given this one a 2-star rating, though I don't think me and Dave will keep on par for the rest of the show, I'm sure. But we'll move on in the meantime, and we'll go backstage as a limo arrives, and we get the Duchess of Queensberry arrive, greeted by William Regal. And she said she can't wait to leave this town. Clearly not happy to be in Chicago. Lillian Garcia is with Kurt Angle and says to Kurt that he's awfully calm ahead of the Ultimate Submission match. Kurt said, yeah, he is calm because he knows he owns Benoit. 30 minutes will seem like a lifetime to Benoit in the Ultimate Submission match later in the evening. Was it a clip from earlier in the night as well? Jerry Lynn becoming the light heavyweight champion on Sunday Night Heat, defeating Crash Holly. That was the thing that happened. I would have liked to have seen that on Backlash, if I'm brutally honest.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a pretty killer match with Jerry Lynn. Just a shame. Like, it's not like, unfortunately, we can go and watch episodes of Sunday Night Heat at the minute. So, yeah, it would have been a killer match. Like, sounds like a pretty good way as a dark match for this pay-per-view.
Certainly indeed. It was only 3 minutes and 37 seconds long, though, which is a bit of a shame. It wasn't a long one, but and there was one other match on Sunday Night Heat as well. Lita defeating Molly Holly in less than 3 minutes. Just for those keeping score at home. But we'll move on in the meantime, anyway, though, to the next match on the show. And it's for the Hardcore Championship. The champion Rhino going against Raven. Raven coming to ringside with, depending where you're from, I would say a shopping trolley. If you're from the States, a shopping cart. And my goodness, did he get some good goodies in that one. I tell you, some trash cans, some metal plates, a stop sign, and much, much more Raven brought to ringside with him.
Everything including the kitchen sink.
Pretty much indeed. It was involved in this one. This match actually started with a drop down tone hold onto a stop sign for Rhino as well, which is quite fun. But Rhino runs up the steps early into the match as well, with Raven seated in a steel chair looking to splash into him, but Raven moves, so Rhino goes straight into the chair. Both men battle on the floor as well until Rhino hits Raven with a shopping cart and then throws it into the ring. And it'll go again. Raven lands a drop down toe hold onto Rhino, with him going face first into that shopping cart. Heavily used in this match, by the way, that shopping cart. Raven hits Rhino repeatedly over the head with the road sign. What were your thoughts with that? Because some of them shots sounded brutal.
To be fair, those road signs and those trash cans, honestly, if I was a human, I would take that as a wrestling shot, because although they sound devastating, I imagine they just fold like there's nothing to them. They just make a great noise, because there's several times in this when a road sign is used, or the trash cans are used, or the trash lid is used, and it just sounds so devastating, man.
It does. It has a real brutal sound to it, but like you say, perhaps maybe it's not so bad to take the shot itself. But either way, Rhino lifts the cart again, trying to get back to Raven, but Raven holds up a trash can, just actually pokes Rhino in the face. Rhino goes crashing down, and with the shopping cart landing on top of him as well. Then Raven runs that shopping cart into Rhino as well. Rhino misses a gore, actually then goes through the back of the shopping cart. That was a really fun looking spot.
Yeah, very well constructed. I thought the way that they managed to do it, where I think Raven misses initially and ends up forcing the shopping cart into the corner just for Rhino to then gore it later on. I thought it was a very well executed setup and execution for it.
Certainly was indeed, and to that point was my OMG moment of the night. Probably know what it will be later on in the show. Metal plate being used then repeatedly again on Rhino, and of course only a 2 count was given when the pinfall attempt was made. Raven goes for the metal plate again after that, but gets caught with a gore. Rhino picks up the victory, and of course really sells that beat down afterwards as well, laying in the ring aisle. Your thoughts with Rhino versus Raven for the Hardcore Championship?
Loved it. Good old-fashioned, old-school hardcore match. Didn't do anything that was too unnecessary. I didn't really wince too much at anything. Like I said, I think the stop sign and the trash cans, I think it's stuff even I would take today. I don't think they're as bad as a steel chair shot ever. They just sound more devastating than what they are. I fully loved it. And like I said, the way they actually used the shopping cart, I don't remember many times where we've had a hardcore match where the shopping cart that Raven normally would bring to ringside is ever actually used as an offensive weapon. And like I said, the spot where Raven pokes him in the face with a bin and Rhino takes a backdrop and then drops the cart on himself. I think it's just solid work, man. Love this.
I love this match as well. This might be my favourite match of the entire show, to be honest. I thought it was great from start to finish. I had a fun time watching it. Just reminded me of the glory days of the Hardcore Championship. And like you say, so many creative spots in this match and how everything sort of connects together. It's like a perfect symphony, you could say, for this one. I really enjoyed this match for the time it was given. What would be your star rating for this one?
I gave this a 3. I thought this was great. I said I think this, if this had had more time and they'd have had a couple more toys, I think this would have been even higher rating than what it got.
Certainly, indeed. I've gone for 3.5. I had a fun time watching this match.
Enough.
Really, really did. Let's see what Dave Meltzer has got to say for this one. I'll get the timestamp of the match as well. This match here was just 8 minutes and 11 seconds long. I felt like it was a bit longer than that personally, but there you go. And Dave has given this a 3.25 star rating. So
it's down the middle.
This one, yeah, smack down the middle for us as well. We move on in the meantime then, and obviously we have the build to Shane McMahon versus The Big Show. We get a replay from SmackDown where Shane is reading Shane and the Beanstalk, of course famously Jack and the Beanstalk. Big Show line with Vince McMahon after Shane beat Vince at WrestleMania X7. We get a promo as well, or backstage segment with Shane and Steph, where Steph says that Shane is living in a fantasy world while Vince is living in the real world. You probably question that 20 years later. If Shane apologizes, then Vince might call the match off, but Shane says no. Steve,
very surprised that we end up getting this story rendition in 2 different segments tonight, because we obviously get the flashback here as well, and then they use it in the video package. But the foreshadowing that Shane tells with the story is so good. Like, you just don't expect it, because he says it's going to end with a big end, like a big crash landing or whatever. I just thought it's great foreshadowing.
Yeah, it's very great foreshadowing. They clearly had the booking booked well in advance at this point. You could tell with it. It did fit together very, very nicely. Steve Austin and Deborah also appeared at the arena. Of course, Kevin Kelly asked if Austin feared about losing the gold. So as long as Triple H does his part, Austin ain't losing a damn thing. We see the Duchess of Queensberry with Jonathan Coachman. Coach asking what are the rules for the match. Regal interrupts and pretty much gets rid of Coach. Screams at him in the most entertaining Regal way possible. Did you enjoy the backstage stuff with Regal and the Duchess of Queensberry?
I mean, I think at the time, Regal wasn't my most favourite character, but looking back on it now, it's so entertaining to go back and watch it with almost a fresh set of eyes. Quick question though, was one of the bodyguards Ted DiBiase Jr.? Didn't
notice.
Okay. One of them slightly looked like him, so I don't know if anyone knows in the comments. Put it down if it definitely was Ted DiBiase Jr., because he did look like him slightly.
Interesting. I want to go back and check this out now just to be sure. But yeah, you never know. I might drop it in the comments. So go and look at this after the video, and that way we can find out once and for all. But obviously that leads us to then the Duchess of Queensberry match. Of course, Chris Jericho versus William Regal. We got a video package beforehand. Of course, it started this feud with Regal becoming the commissioner, putting Jericho in a series of handicap matches as well, and just pretty much beat downs. I think the Dudley Boys was one of them that they gave him. Regal, obviously, his tea was besmirched when Chris Jericho peed in it. And of course, the Duchess of Queensberry rules match was made for Backlash. But what are the rules? We're about to find out when we get into the match. I don't know, I burst into song there. Regal introduces the Duchess to ringside. She goes and sits in a throne. We have Jericho then have his time on the microphone before this match is set, showing Regal in a picture on the Tron as the Duchess, suggesting which one looks more like a man. And while Chicago is the windy city, Queensberry is clearly the ugly city.
It's just a typical Chris Jericho promo, isn't it, for that time period? Just the way he always used to cut the same sort of thing. It's very solid.
Absolutely, yeah. He worked a treat back then, for sure. But absolutely, we get into the match itself then, and it's pretty much a standard match when you kick things off, really. And the match seems to take a turn when Jericho looks like he's going to win the match with a lion salt. That's the point when the bell rings and the Duchess gets in touch with the ring announcer for the first time, which I believe is Howard Finkel, if I'm not mistaken. And it's stated that this is actually just the end of round 1. So this obviously has rounds in it, which is what we learned first off, which meant we got to start a round 2. Paul Heyman said, of course, I forgot to tell you, JL, there's rounds in this. I should have mentioned it. I forgot that detail. Regal then got on the top and applies a Regal stretch. Jericho manages to get to the ropes. Jericho, though, eventually applies the walls of Jericho. Regal is tapping, which makes us think Jericho is winning. However, the Duchess confirms that you cannot win by submission. Benoit and Angle would be screwed later in the evening. Jericho approaches the Duchess then, and Regal then hits Jericho with the scepter. And of course, just when you think that Jericho will win again, he can't be disqualified in this match. And that's when actually you see Paul Heyman pick up his notes and show JR, look, it says here you can't be disqualified. It's in the notes. I love that. Paul Heyman was genius during this match. Jericho then attacks security, that is with the Duchess, and then brings the Duchess in ring, applies the walls of Jericho. That's when Regal hits Jericho with a chair 3 times and gets the victory. Thoughts of the Duchess of Queensberry match?
I mean, to be honest, I thought this is what the NXT Heritage Cup was now, to be honest, as soon as they started going about rounds. It's like, this is so stupid and so goofball, but it's serving a purpose in terms of a story narrative that William Regal is just like fantastic as the commissioner, and the narcissistic character that he portrays, the way he waves to the crowds every 5 minutes. And then the way that, say, the match just ends up winding up, and he inadvertently ends up with his head in between the Duchess's legs, and it just all goes horribly wrong. And it's just a goofball match that you probably have a better memory than me. I don't know where this goes from here, but I imagine it just serves a purpose in terms of building a story for something else going forward. I presume they probably end up having a rematch. But look, man, as soon as you text me the Duchess of Queensberry role, I'm like, what is he waffling about? And then as soon as I saw her get out of the car, I was like, oh yes, now I remember this match. This is one of these stupid, pointless things that's ingrained in my brain. Like, of all the quality wrestling there is in the world, my brain can remember the Duchess of Queensberry Rules match. And oh my god, it's stupid, it's terrible, but it's so do you know what I mean? It's essentially something that we've seen so many times afterwards, like with like the anonymous Raw GM. It's just one of these matches that has these, well, you don't know the rules, but you're going to find out 17 different times throughout the whole time. And look, at the end of the day, Regal gets the win, which is the right decision in terms of this is Regal's match. He's not supposed to lose this match. And he drove Jericho to the point where he ends up having to attack the Duchess of Queensberry, that he ends up losing it. And so, like I said, narrative-wise, story-wise, it does what it needs to do.
Yeah, it has a purpose, this match, but I think we can't deny this is WrestleCrap 101, isn't it? It's complete bonkers and stupidity. But it reminds me of something we reviewed on the rewinds last year from WCW in the year 2000 of New Blood Rising, the Canadian rules match with Lance Storm and Mike Awesome, where Jacques Rougeau is changing the rules every 5 seconds because Lance Storm was being completely annihilated, and to the point he eventually wins. So it's kind of the same purpose, like you say. We've seen it many times moving forward afterwards as well, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. I had a good time watching this, how bad it was. So yeah, I still pretty much enjoyed it. And like you say, it's the right result. They do go on to have a rematch, I believe, Insurrection the following week in the United Kingdom. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Jericho gets his win back.
Of course, because the hometown hero can't win in his hometown country, can he? That was just so expected with WWE. But in terms of a match review, I gave this a 2.25. I enjoyed it, even though it is garbage in some places, but it's fun garbage.
Yeah, I gave it a 2, just because of the fact that like it's stupid, but I don't know, I was in a silly mood when I was watching this. I kind of had a fun time. So if you had a fun time, like you say, you should roll with it. So
if you're in the right frame of mind when you watch this, you can enjoy this more than probably what it should be worth.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's certainly the way it would be. And I think if I was watching this in 2001, I reckon I rated this a lot lower in my head, because I would have said I probably would have hated this. Yeah, 12 minutes, 11 seconds this match. And to give it a Dave Meltzer rating, he didn't enjoy this at the time. 1 star for the Duchess of Queensberry match.
Outrageous. I don't blame him, though, to be fair. Like I said, he hasn't. I presume he's never gone back and watched it since, and hopefully he might have a sense of humor when he watches it again.
Absolutely, because in hindsight, it's a scandalous decision. How dare he? From 2 Filler Brits, we demand a recount. We move on in the meantime, and of course, we have Big Show visit Vince McMahon, and Vince is asking to be sure that Big Show will not hold back during this match. And Big Show says, well, because his name's McMahon, I promise you I'm not going to hold back. And they celebrate and have an evil laugh as well. What a terrible father Vince McMahon is on this, is what it's pretty much shown as well.
Shock.
But we move on to shock horror. We move on in the meantime to Chris Benoit versus Kurt Angle in the 30-minute Ultimate Submission match. Not every video package is good in WWE history. This particular is a weak video package. Both have vicious submission holds, and we just basically see them put submission holds on people, not even on each other.
Yeah, and like for two technical guys that are probably, do you know what I mean, 20 years later defined as two of the best technical wrestlers to have ever graced a WWE ring, you'd have thought there'd be a lot more build to it than just who is the better submission specialist.
I feel like I remember a bit, but I mean, I know they've had countless programs since that as well, but like them having where they would attack each other and put their own submission hold on them and they would tap out because they wouldn't tap out previously. So I feel like it's, I don't know, I feel like I'm missing a beat, or that's the next part of the story or something, because this does carry on after this show, I if I'm not mistaken, goes into Insurrection as well. But
this is probably just a filler story for the both of them to keep them preoccupied until something else becomes available.
Absolutely. So for those that are unaware what an Ultimate Submission match is, and when I say the word 30 minutes, so it's pretty much an Iron Man match. So it's sort of that sort of stipulation who can get the most falls in the time period. But of course, pinfalls don't count, count outs, DQs don't count. It all comes down to submission holds only. So let's give you a bit of meat and bone for the match. Benoit does get a crossface on Angle on the floor early doors, but Angle taps. But of course, must remember that it needs to be on the inside of the ring. Our first submission comes with it seems to be like a leg lock, a knee bar, or some description on Chris Benoit. Benoit taps instantly, 7 minutes and 6 seconds into the match. Paul Heyman actually revelates, by the way, and says that this is genius from Benoit, because the second that Angle has got him caught, rather than actually going through pain, he actually just gets himself out of the lock and loses a fall. I suppose that's one way you could look at it, but I'll probably have a counter argument for that at the end of this match. Benoit then, less than a minute later, gets pretty much an arm breaker on Kurt Angle, and Angle taps as well. So 8 minutes and 5 seconds of this match, it is 1-1. Two guys that don't tap out have both tapped out in the first 10 minutes of the match. Benoit loses composure, shoves the official, and at that moment, that's when Angle can use a steel chair on Benoit, even though DQs aren't a factor in this match. And he applies the ankle lock, and Benoit taps. So it's 2-1 to Kurt Angle after 10 minutes and 22 seconds. Angle then makes Benoit tap again, pretty much going straight into the cripple crossface after that second fall. So it becomes 3-1 to Kurt Angle, 11 minutes and 42 seconds in. I'm going to come to you at this point, NXT, Steve, because this is, I have probably noticed I'm not going to be as high praise on this as perhaps I should be. A guy who loves technical wrestling, submission wrestling. We are less than 12 minutes into a match, two guys that don't submit, and we have 4 submission holds that have been involved tap outs, and 4 of them have happened in the space of 5 minutes. Is that a bit overkill for you?
I mean, again, the Paul Heyman reference you make is probably the most logical book into this, that you've got these two guys that don't tap out, and at the end of the day, it's not a case of who gets the final, it's who gets the most. And like you said, if it's a case of, look, I want to do damage limitation, I don't want to tap out, I don't want to sit there and take an ankle lock or a crossface for 4 or 5 minutes and take the wear and tear, the deterioration that move will do you. If I just tap out instantly, I can then go straight back on the offensive and try and score a point back, because they're technically both wrestling with the same logic here. It's not a case of, like I said, being the last one to tap out. It's a case of trying to score as many tap outs as possible. So there is that kind of blurred line to it, which again, if you're a paying fan, that you can't, that doesn't really come across. It's only if you're watching this as someone at home that you can really get that sense. By the way, Paul Heyman mentions New Japan as well, by the way. I thought it was a great reference. But this for me in 2001 as a 16-year-old wrestling fan, submission matches are not my cup of tea. Technical matches are not my cup of tea. And in the first, like you said, 12 minutes, 7 of them they just spent rolling around on the mat. And I'm trying to find positives in this, because I'm like 25 years older now nearly, And I'm just like trying to look at it like, and like you said, and like I'm glad you come to me at this point, because like I'm sitting here trying to put a positive spin on some honestly horrible things, like the fact that the first two submissions are, like you said, a leg lock and an arm bar or something like that. And it's like, these are two guys that specialize in submissions, and they could probably pull out a half a dozen submissions that are more devastating, but we've used an arm bar and a leg lock. And that's the kind of thing where I'm like, how am I supposed to believe that these two are technical masterclasses when they're doing a wrestling move that everyone does?
Yeah, I agree, and I feel like my head says, like, in one way you can tell they're trying to make the match more exciting with many high falls. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
if you've gone with the way that I suppose I'm going to present this, is like, well, the drama of, will one of these guys actually tap out, being in submission moves for a long time, long periods, it kind of makes you feel like, okay, now we're in something. Where are we going to get with this one? Oh, it actually tapped out. Oh my God. Like, he actually made him tap out to it because he couldn't get out of the submission hold. It'd been 1 or 2 minutes, and you feel the drama from that point onwards. I think for me, that would have been a much better way to have gone, but I suppose maybe you have less falls in doing so, or maybe if it happens, starts halfway through the match, that's where towards the end of the match, because there's that wear and tear and there isn't that clever, well, I'm in this, I can't get out of it, let's quickly tap, and I'm sure I can get 2 falls later. But it's kind of like, I just feel to myself as a spectator, it just felt a bit throwaway, I think is what I'm trying to say. And for that reason, I found myself a bit disconnected to what should be an absolute spectacle. Because let's be honest, the technical wrestling, the just catch-can and all the stuff they were doing at the start of this was fantastic. It's just the case of, like you said, though, probably not.
They
as
do it for 10 minutes straight. That's the problem.
Yeah.
They're trying to do the same thing for 10 minutes. Like, I don't even think I remember seeing a suplex. It's just literally ground-based. It's proper high school wrestling, just gym mat wrestling. Do you know what I mean? That's all it is just get each other on the floor and try and get the other one to tap out.
And I'm going to say this now as well, because it just saves me having to come back to the same topic to say it later. This is why, in the end, this match doesn't fully work. Because the fact is, if this had been like a simple Iron Man match, or simply just a submission match, I think all of a sudden it's those big moves that you're playing. You have the suplexes, you have the top rope being involved. You'll do everything else to ground that superstar to get that one ultimate submission in, because that would be the ultimate submission, the one submission to get the other person to ultimately tap out once. When like you're doing it like this, you're eliminating 3/4 of what could be done in a wrestling match and taking away a lot of, I don't want to say excitement, but it's like you said, if you're focused only on submissions and nothing else, like you said, you are going to just roll around, try and grab a leg, try and grab an arm. There's not much more you can kind of do with it. So I think for me, this is why you didn't go on to see much more of these moving forward. It just was in the computer.
This is very much like siblings fighting. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you used to, if you had a brother or something you used to wrestle with as a kid, you didn't do suplexes and super kicks and whatever else. You didn't simply, it was always a case of, like, for me, for example, my brother always tried to get me into a sharpshooter because he's an evil git, and it was like, well, I always spent like 15 minutes trying to get out of a sharpshooter. It's exactly what this is. This is sibling wrestling.
Sounds like a very good comparison. I like what you've done with that there. But at this point, we are like 12 minutes into the match, and Kurt Angle is 3-1 to the good. So you can imagine where we could be going next. Well, we went outside of the ring, and actually this time Angle makes Benoit tap on the floor with the ankle lock. But remember, it's outside, so it doesn't count. Benoit applies a sharpshooter, but Angle manages to get to the ropes. Benoit, though, does get a half Boston Crab with a knee to the back, almost like a half version of the balls of Jericho. Angle taps, and this is 18 minutes and 5 seconds into the match. The score becomes 3-2 to Kurt Angle. Angle at this point runs away from Benoit as we get to the start of the next fall, but Benoit catches him, throws him into the steel steps. Finally, a bit more drama. Many transitions of holds, though. Again, like we mentioned, it leads to Benoit applying an ankle lock to Kurt Angle. Angle taps to that ankle lock at 27 minutes and 53 seconds. It is 3-3 with 2 minutes to go. At this point, Kurt Angle hits a low blow and eventually lands an ankle lock of his own, and the drama does kick in pretty well at this point, because like you mentioned, the time is ticking down. Will Chris Benoit tap out? Well, the answer is no. The time expired and Benoit does tap, but it's the second after the bell rings. The referee has a discussion with the ring announcer and demands that the match must continue. We're in sudden death. Feels like a best of 7, doesn't it? It's NBA season, ladies and gentlemen. We have Benoit then. It's actually put into a guillotine from Kurt Angle, but Chris Benoit can counter that, gets into the crippler crossface, and yes, at 31 minutes and 33 seconds, Chris Benoit picks up the victory 4-3 in overtime. Did the match get any better for you?
20 plus years later, and I still didn't really like. Like I said, these are two of the best technical wrestlers WWE have ever had, especially during that time period. And you've just had guys rolling around for 30 minutes, and it's almost like they almost try to do the Iron Man match between Brett and Shawn, the 60-minute one, and kind of replicate it, but then specifically aim it more towards submissions, and it doesn't pay off. Like, the crowd is a very generous crowd, and I think this is the 10% for me where they don't sort of carry the hype throughout the show, because what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to cheer two guys just rolling around. And like I said, I think they're very gracious in the fact that at the end of the match, we get the sudden death. We get a minute and 30 later before we get a final pinfall. And I think they're more probably gracious that the match is actually over and we have a winner. Because, like I said, imagine if this had been a 60-minute time limit. This possibly could have been one of the worst matches ever. I don't think it is. It's not my cup of tea. And like I said, 20 years later, nothing's changed for me. I didn't appreciate this in 2001, and in 2025, I still don't appreciate it.
It's a shame because I feel criminal saying Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle, two of the greatest submission and technical wrestlers ever, and they've had some amazing matches. I mean, one of my favorite matches of theirs is Royal Rumble 2003. It's incredible from start to finish. For anyone that's not gone and seen it, go and watch it. Honestly, it's a 5-star classic instant from when watching it. But as I said, I think the problem with this is that you're just limited when it's just submissions. It's like sometimes when you do a steel cage match, when there's high flyers that are involved in that cage match, because the only way they can do anything is by getting on the top of the cage and throwing themselves off of it. They're taking half their arsenal away for half of the match. It's kind of, I don't know, I used to seeing Benoit do his 3 German suplexes. Not much of that. I don't think we saw it in this match once.
I didn't see a German suplex, a diving headbutt. I very vaguely remember. I don't even think I saw an angle slam. Like I said, you've taken away 3/4 of their offense, and you're very limited to what these guys are going to do, and you expect them to do it for 30 minutes in front of a paying crowd. I find it very hard to believe.
The good thing, at least, is what they can do. They do very well, and that's, I think, the saving grace for this match. Absolutely, indeed. But I will say, as the final nitpick, because I feel like I'm tearing this match apart, and I might as well just do it a little bit more. To sum it up, we do 30 minutes to then have to do 1 hour. 1 minute and 33 seconds later to get a final decision. I just feel like if you're going to do overtime, at least have it go on a bit longer. I don't know. I just felt to myself, like, what's the point of it being a minute later and then Kurt taps out? I just felt to myself like,
so this could have been the point where they started to bust out the normal stuff, the suplexes, the angle slams, the Germans, whatever. This would have been that moment to really emphasize the point of, look, we spent 30 minutes trying to make each other tap. Now we're just going to hurt each other for 4 or 5 minutes, and then someone's going to tap.
I would have said that would have made this match get a much higher star rating just from that alone, because I would have appreciated that effort being put involved in it. Let's go for star ratings then. Obviously, we know the time limit for this match was 31 minutes and 33 seconds.
I went with a generous 2. Like I said, for me, it's not my kettle of fish. 20 plus years later, it still isn't. The fact is, it's Benoit and Angle, and I think it's more out of respect that I gave this a 2, but like I said, it's just not for me.
2.75 for me, and it's criminally low. It's criminally low for a Benoit Angle match.
Yeah, like I said, maybe one day we watch the Royal Rumble one, because this is not it, man.
We have to. But even they do WrestleMania X7 the month before, and that's kind of like a bit sort of technical style, and like you say, they're rolling around a bit in the match. But the match is fantastic. It's one of the best matches of WrestleMania X7. It's really, really good. And then obviously they continue after this in Insurrection, and they have countless other matches which are really, really good. But this one, I don't know. It's just a disconnect. I think it's a stipulation that just didn't work out, unfortunately.
And it's why it's shocking that we have both a Duchess of Queensberry rules and a ultimate submission match. 2 matches that I don't think have ever been seen again after this show.
Seems not. Dave Meltzer gives us a 3.25 star rating. So Dave enjoyed this a little bit more than we did. So there you go.
Fair enough.
Interesting. Fair enough indeed. We appreciate you, Dave. Backstage, we see Undertaker and Kane looking pretty angry when communicating. Kane looks like he's hurt his arm on a previous episode of WTV, either Raw or SmackDown, I forget which. Kane, like I say, he's got a bandage on that left arm. Triple H and Stephanie are watching. Triple H actually thinks that the Brothers of Destruction are already coming up with excuses for losing. Stephanie said that Shane would also need excuses after his match with the Big Show, which nicely moves us on, actually, because that's the next match, Shane McMahon versus Big Show in the last man standing match. And we get a video package as well. And of course, this really all starts from Shane owning WCW, stealing it from under Vince McMahon's nose. And Shane is trying to recruit WWE superstars from behind the scenes. Of course, we had the WrestleMania X7 match, which Shane McMahon won. And of course, yeah, he's going to try and steal now Vince's superstars. Big Show is one of those people and looks like he's been recruited for WCW. But Vince and Shane have both got him in the ring, and Vince asks him, "Where will you go?" And it does say that he does believe that I think Big Show can be a WWE champion as well. For that, Big Show chokeslams Shane McMahon, and a last man standing match is made on the spot. It seems like there'd been a bit of a ruse. Vince knows what Show is capable of doing to his son, Father of the Year once again. Show then destroys Testa backstage, and we get a repeat of Shane and the Beanstalk. When we get to the match itself, before we get to the match itself, thoughts of that video package? Did you enjoy it?
I mean, for a rewind, I don't think it does what it needs to do. I think it probably does more for the time period. Like I said, repeating the fact that you showed the whole segment from SmackDown and then put it in the video package as well, just think it's a bit stupid. Like, we could have easily just plugged that into this video package and there was no need to show it earlier on the night.
Yeah, we didn't need that twice, but with the exception of that, I appreciate that we had a full video package for this match because it gave me some context and remembrance of what's going on here. Because obviously, it seems obvious that obviously Vince would get the Big Show after losing the Shane at WrestleMania, but to see how it all came about certainly is it's good enough for me. I didn't mind this video package too much.
Yeah, the trying to acquire Big Show is the weird one. Like, of everyone that WWE has on their roster, why is Big Show the guy you want? Like, not an Austin, not a Triple H, do you know what I mean? Not an Edge, not a Christian. You want the Big Show.
He's former WCW champion. He was there back in the day as the Giant,
true.
wasn't he? And, I think he's someone that can be swayed. Obviously, he was swayed by Vince, and in ECW in 2006, he was swayed to go to ECW and become the ECW World Champion. He was a Paul Heyman guy for a little while, but anyway, that's for a different story for a different day. But we move on anyway into the match itself, and Shane starts on the run. Big Show's chasing him, but Shane goes under the ring. Show follows him, and then Shane comes out the other side of a kendo stick. Which way did he go? He whacks Show when he comes from under the ring, and also uses the Shane and the Beanstalk book as well to hit Show over the head. Shane then actually lands multiple chair shots to Big Show in ring as well in the head, and Shane actually does continue to have a little bit of momentum here. He seems to have some sort of substance that smells, because commentary make reference to this is very smelly stuff. He's got a mask covering his face, but he's putting this cloth of whatever this stuff is over Big Show's face, which is making Big Show drop to his knees and looks like he's going to pass out. The referee starts to make the count. Vince McMahon comes down and hits Shane McMahon with a chair. This leads them to a count being made, and both men get up at 8. And we get a standing leg drop from Big Show onto Shane McMahon as well, and Show picks Shane up at 8. He lands a choke slam as well, and again, Show can't help himself. He picks Shane up, stops the referee's count, puts Shane McMahon into a torture rack, and this is the moment where Test returns and attacks the Big Show. Then fighting all the way back to the aisleway, and this is where Shane actually goes and meets them there, hits Show with a sign. Big Show, though, ends up backstage and comes out with a lead pipe. Shane, once again, which way did he go? Well, he went the other way. He ran away from the Big Show and starts to climb the Backlash set. Show then is chased, but Test stops him from climbing up the structure. Probably a good thing all round, really. That structure probably would have come down. He lands a low blow onto the Big Show, and then actually puts him on some staging. Shane McMahon at this point has climbed to the top of the set, and yes, you've guessed it, what they claim is about 50 feet in the air. Shane McMahon goes flying off the top of the Backlash set and lands an elbow drop through the Big Show's heart and through the staging as well. Test picks up Shane McMahon at the count of 8. puts him onto a camera so he can lean there, so he's actually standing, and Shane McMahon picks up the victory. Your thoughts on Shane McMahon versus Big Show in the last man standing match?
Essentially, the Big Show is the biggest dumbass in wrestling because, do you know what I mean? 2 or 3 times he has this match won and he decides to, just like I get he wants to hurt Shane, but ultimately in the terms of kayfabe, he ends up costing himself the match. The match is okay. It has some fairly entertaining spots. I mean, ultimately it comes down to that moment, that elbow drop off the top, which is one of them things that 24 years later they still love showing it in their highlight reel as one of them moments. And like I said, I think for me this was more about that moment than it was anything else. It's not a great wrestling match. It's just essentially 2 guys playing cat and mouse for most of it. I will give props for the Backlash stage set, because Backlash, I think, is one of my favourite stages when they have it set up, like with the scaffolding and the metal claws. I used to be very fond of it. And props to Shane, man, because like I said, not many people are going to take a 50-foot jump off of the top of the scaffolding to do an elbow drop. And yeah, man, like I said, props to him. Like I said, there's very few guys that would do it. But I'll tell you what I will appreciate as well, the fact that Test has to use the camera rig to hold Shane up at the end. I thought very clever way of getting someone to stand up or just generally hold themselves up at the count of 10 so he can win this match. But otherwise, again, aside from the actual elbow drop, there's not a lot to write home about. The fact that Shane uses, I presume, is meant to be chloroform.
Yeah.
I don't know why they don't just say its name of what it's supposed to be, because let's be honest, I think everyone in the world at this point knows what chloroform is. It's been used in films and TV, and I don't know, maybe it's an advertisement thing that they don't want to say it. But yeah, I appreciate certain spots of it, but it's more about that elbow drop.
Yeah, I would actually argue and said this match is a dud up until that elbow drop. I'm not a massive fan of how it all played out, really, but it's what it is. And like you say, they just pretty much want to have a insane Shane McMahon spot, and obviously the Big Show's there to accept it. And I think the last 2 minutes of that match is probably more entertaining than the first 8 or 9 that we sit through. But
definitely.
And obviously it does lead as well to Steve Blackman and Grandmaster Sexay reacting to this spot as well in WWF New York. And I think probably the less said about this, the better.
I mean, if you're going to have a meet and greet with wrestlers in Times Square while this show's going off, Steve Blackman and Grandmaster Sexay are not the 2 I'd be wanting to queue up for a meet and greet when they have this catalogue of wrestlers.
No, I would be a bit disappointed as well. I'll be honest. But this match was 11 minutes and 53 seconds. What would be the star rating for you?
I mean, I probably rated this too high. I went with 2 3/4 just because, like I said, the chloroform usage. Shane obviously trying to do the David versus Goliath thing is okay, but again, it's more for that spot at the end. Like I said, it's not very often we see something like, we know Shane obviously takes a bump very similar to that from Steve Blackman previously, which is what Blackman references when he's interviewed at Times Square. So for the fact that instead of him being the subject of an offensive move where he falls that high, he's the perpetrator of a move that is that high, I've rated it 2 3/4.
I think it's fair. I've gone for 2 1/4, and I've given all of it for Shane's jump off the top there, because I think without that, I think this match is probably a dud. But it's not my favorite match on the show. But I appreciate Shane will always, if there's something high, Shane will throw himself off of it each and every time. Giving Dave Meltzer's star rating, he's gone for 1.5 for Shane versus Big Show. Those keeping score.
Fair enough. Again, that's probably all for that elbow drop.
I would say so. It seems to be at this rate. But we move on in the meantime, and we get a clip from SmackDown where Eddie Guerrero loses the European Championship to Matt Hardy. Leads us to our next match, which I'm not going to lie, when I saw this lineup, I thought this is right up NXT Street. Matt Hardy versus Christian versus Eddie Guerrero for the European Championship. I think the only criminal part is this match is less than 7 minutes long. Eddie attempts a submission on Christian, and Matt attempts to do a sunset flip over the top for Eddie, but both men kind of go landing into the ropes. It's a little bit messy, but I appreciate the creativity. Christian does a backdrop onto Matt Hardy into the ring ropes, which sends Matt back down, of course, and hits Christian with a DDT on the floor. Christian saves Matt from a top rope hurricanrana from Eddie Guerrero. Christian goes for a superplex to Matt Hardy on top of Eddie Guerrero, but instead is actually dropped onto Eddie instead in the splash format. It's almost like a front reverse reverse suplex from Matt Hardy to Christian off the top rope. Edge comes in to hit a spear onto Matt Hardy in the aisleway. Eddie then throws Christian to the floor. Eddie actually goes for a pin count attempt as well. Matt Hardy at this moment is a 2 count. Jeff Hardy comes out and goes for Edge, but Edge initially throws Jeff Hardy out of the ring. This actually leads to the ref then getting pretty much caught up with Edge at this point. Christian lands the unprettier on Edge. Whilst on the pin, Jeff does a swanton bomb. Gets out of the ring. Christian gets up from that moment and he goes straight into a twist of fate. And Matt Hardy wins and retains the European Championship. Fun stuff.
Yeah, it's just a shame that this probably didn't get as much time as it should have done. Don't get me wrong, the European title going on as the sub-main event and a pay-per-view is pretty good, and especially for the likes of Matt Hardy, Christian, and Guerrero being in that position at this time, that's a massive positive. It's just a shame that, like, I feel a lot of this stuff was rushed, which makes some of it come across as sloppy in places. And I think, like I said, because of the time constraints, it's probably the reason why this doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't come across as fluid as what I was probably expecting. I mean, I gave this a 2.5. I thought this was okay. I just really would have loved to have seen a bit more time given to this.
Me too. I'd really like to have seen more time given to this match. It's a shame that it didn't quite materialize that way. But these guys are great in-ring workers, and they made the most of the time they were given. And I think they made a fairly entertaining match regardless.
Yeah, that's it. It's just a shame because, you know, you've got, especially like the fact that Jeff and Edge get involved, and obviously the four of them have a history in tag team competition basis, and then you just have Eddie, who's just a genuinely fantastic wrestler. It's just, again, 20 plus years later, and we kind of know that if Hardy's winning this title 3 days prior, we kind of know he's still going to retain when it comes to the pay-per-view. And I think that's another thing that they ultimately marks this down, the fact that I know that Matt's going to retain this because of how their normal booking works.
Yeah, I can understand that theory. What'll be your star rating for this one?
I'll give it 2.5.
I gave it 2.5 as well. I think it's a fair rating for the time period, and they made it work with what they could with the time period they had. Yeah. Looking for the Meltzer rating, 2 3/4 star rating for this match.
That's fair enough.
Which takes us nicely then on towards the main event of this show, the 2-man power trip of Stone Cold Steve Austin and Triple H going against the Brothers of Destruction, Undertaker and Kane, for the WWF Intercontinental and Tag Team Championships. Of course, a reminder for those keeping score at home, Stone Cold Steve Austin is the WWF champion at this point. Triple H is the Intercontinental champion on one team, and of course they're going against the Tag Team champions of Undertaker and Kane. To pretty much then let you know the details, the video package from this one. Of course, it starts with Mania X7, where Austin aligns himself with Vince McMahon, sells his soul to the devil. I've heard that phrase actually used in 2025. Triple H confronts Austin in a cage after a beatdown of The Rock, and Triple H actually hits The Rock with a sledgehammer, and they both beat him down together, forming a new alliance, the 2-man power trip, Triple H and Stone Cold with Vince McMahon. Triple H will go on to beat Chris Jericho for the Intercontinental Championship. They are proclaimed as the most dominant duo ever. They do what they want, when they want. They beat down commentators. We see Austin with Jim Ross, and also women as well, which of course is an infamous segment actually, which funnily enough around that time period, ratings significantly drop after that segment. It's actually, I believe, the Hardy Boys beaten down by Triple H and Austin, and then actually beat Lita with a steel chair repeatedly, and ratings never recovered after that. Fans did not like that segment, and it's in the history books there for ratings anyway, regardless, for people to see. They never got back to the heights after that. But anyway, going back onto the point, the Brothers of Destruction, they come for the 2-man power trip, and Regal says that if they can beat Edge and Christian for the tag team titles, then they can have Austin and Triple H. Of course, they win those tag team titles, which means all titles will be put on the line at Backlash. And of course, we'll tell you when it's too far, says Triple H when it comes to their actions. And I suppose that leads to the question, who is the most dominant team and who walks away with all the gold? Your thoughts on the video package for the 2-man power trip versus the Brothers of Destruction?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think we've ever seen the match stipulation like this before, where we've had an IC champion and a WWE champion one side going up against the tag team champion. So it's a unique stipulation in itself, and the fact that we see how Taker and Kane have to get into that position to be in this match for Backlash. I appreciate it, man. Like I said, it does what it needs to do to kind of feed you the small bits of like storyline that you may need prior to this match. But like I said, it's the gimmick. Whoever has the gold has the power. Whoever has the power has the gold, kind of thing. Where they kind of like try and force it down your throat with the promos on this. But like I said, it's an okay video package. It's just it's just one of them things, man. It does what it needs to do for the time.
It certainly is indeed. And just looking through, I want to get my history right before I do this. This is the second time they did this in history. They only did this one other time, and it was in 1995 at September's In Your House 3. It was Diesel and Shawn Michaels, who were the WWF and Intercontinental champions at the time. The two dudes with attitudes going against Owen Hart and Yokozuna, who were the tag team champions at the time.
Like I said, I don't think it's ever been done since, really, has it?
I don't think it's been done as a third time, no, which is quite fun. So it is one of two other times they did this. And obviously these are some big time players doing in this as well. So once everyone's got all the gold, it's a hell of a trouble to get it off of them again.
The dynamic I always wondered was like, look, if Kane and Taker win this, who's WWE champ and who's IC champ? Because, you know, is it a case of whoever picks up the pinfall is the WWE champion? Is it who you pin that makes you the WWE champion or the IC champion? That was the bit I could never get my head around, like how that dynamic was supposed to work in this.
From judging from commentary, because this is the only thing I can go off is commentary, I didn't know the Raw parts looking back 20 years later without Raws and SmackDowns to go over. And of course, on the Netflix now, we don't have all of those available right now. So if you are a Peacock user, you have that library still there for you. But from what I gathered watching the match, I heard a couple of times Undertaker almost became Intercontinental champion. And so I think it's who you pinned on the other side would have created the one championship change for the Brothers of Destruction, where on the other side, obviously the two-man power trip, they only have to beat one guy and both become tag team champions. So only one title was ever going to change hands, but of course there was the ability for two men to lose the strap at the same time.
Gotcha.
But yes, going into the match itself, let's get into that then for you. And what's quite interesting is that both Triple H and Austin were reluctant to get into the ring. Triple H was punched off the apron a couple of times, but ultimately Undertaker and Kane had to chase them up the aisle to start the match. Austin, for me, was very interested in this match because a lot of character work. We're used to, the Texas Rattlesnake who's got no fear, who's just, was stuck a mud hole in everybody, but he shows genuine fear sitting in the corners of the Undertaker and actually gets a mud hole stomped into him by the Taker. Austin goes for a handshake as well. You don't trust anybody. Taker kicks Austin straight in the face. Yeah, absolutely. Taker will only tag Kane in when having the advantage. Heyman makes sure that we know that on commentary. Again, Paul Heyman's absolutely genius on commentary on this show, in my personal opinion, giving us that little bit of nugget. Austin and Triple H trying to go away again up the aisle, but of course Kane chases them both and hits a double clothesline. Austin and Triple H finally control the match when they're taking advantage of the Taker, but Kane eventually gets the hot tag, does a flying clothesline to the top from the top rope to Austin before doing a press slam to Triple H, who's on the other side of the ring on the top rope. Austin and Triple H attack Kane's arm so they can get the advantage once again. Sort of tag team wrestling 101, really. And this is how it shows us a long, important match with main eventers. Beat down on the Undertaker for a while, hot tag to Kane, beat down Kane for a while, and then get to the hot tag to the Taker. But of course, Austin uses a chair on Kane's arm on the outside, which is actually sandwiched in between the announce table as well when the ref is distracted. Kane is close to a tag, and Undertaker's pulled off the apron. Austin makes an attack in ring on Kane when the ref is on the floor with Triple H and Undertaker, again showing the character work and the cowardness now that Steve Austin has become. Taker chokeslams Austin behind the ref's back, and then actually he's distracted with Stephanie McMahon. Hebner actually pushes Stephanie off of the apron. Ref though misses the hot tag to the Undertaker, who completely cleans out Austin and Triple H. Taker gets the last ride, but of course the referee refuses to make the count of Taker becoming the new IC champion of Triple H. Taker then holds the ref, but Austin actually attacks him from behind, knocking the ref to the floor. A low blow is hit to the Undertaker, and the Stone Cold Stunner's hit to Kane. Taker and Austin then fight on the outside and go into the crowd. Stephanie gives the title to Triple H, who then runs to go into Kane, but of course Kane gets his boot up, so that way Triple H doesn't hit the move. Kane goes for the chokeslam on Trips, but then Stephanie goes to make the save. Kane hits her with a big boot. Triple H comes down with a sledgehammer, gives that to Triple H. Triple H then uses that on Kane's arm and then hits a second shot to the back of the head, and we get brand new tag team champions, as we saw on the thumbnail that's bringing up for you, holding all the gold. And this is why they called that two-man power trip, Triple H and Steve Austin with all the gold there. Your thoughts then of the Brothers of Destruction versus the two-man power trip?
This is, like you said, tag team wrestling 101. This is so good in terms of storytelling. The dynamic that Triple H and Steve Austin have as the heel team here, like even from the start where they try to leave, force Taker and Kane to chase them to bring them back, the ref bump, the missed tag where Taker comes in, cleans house, tries to get a pinfall. This is solid tag team wrestling. You had the stipulation that the fact that all these titles are on the line and the history that these guys have. This is honestly one of the best tag team matches, especially with because of the four guys you've got in the ring. Like, these ain't no average Joes. Do you know what I mean? This is Taker, this is Triple H, this is Austin, this is Kane. These guys have been around for like 20 plus years, each of them. They know what they're doing. They know how to tell a story, how to work the crowd. It's just generally a very, very good wrestling match in terms of just everything, really. And even the bits like the story that Taker tells, trying to not bring Kane into the match because of the injury, the sympathy that he has for his brother who's injured, and he's like, no, I will carry the burden, I will get us through this. And then Kane having to force himself to tag himself in because Taker won't do it. And then, like you said, then the elbow becomes the focus of the story. Like, look, we have isolated Kane now. We're now going to work this elbow. Taker's stuck on the outside. He can't do nothing. And like I said, when you get that moment where Kane then tries to tag in Undertaker, the ref doesn't see the tag. Taker absolutely clears house, goes for the pinfall because he is the legal man. The ref just hasn't seen it. It's such good storytelling. I just thoroughly enjoyed this. Like, I actually got to a point in this match where I stopped taking notes because I was enjoying it a hell of a lot more than I would have done if I was just normally taking notes.
Yeah, I was actually the same. I stopped taking notes at one point, so I had to actually rewind at one point just to make sure I didn't miss anything that was being noted down. So it's on the second watch. But yeah, I thought this was a really good match. Like you say, the storytelling from a standpoint, commentary helps to deliver every note that needs to be thrown in for DSL when you need to know it. Just everything's pinpointed nicely. I just love the characteristics of the new Stone Cold Steve Austin, knowing as well the chemistry that Triple H and Austin had as a tag team
for a month.
For a month, like it just just shows that these are two top guys. It just, just to throw it after this show, it's a shame that we never know where this would have fully gone to, because obviously I think less than a month later, Triple H has that horrific quad injury, which rules him out for 8 months. And of course, he then has lost the IC title to Jeff Hardy, if I'm not mistaken. And they dropped the tag team titles to Jericho and Benoit on the Raw. And obviously, that's the match where the quad is ripped. And obviously, we don't see him back until 2002. So we never kind of get to see where this fully would have gone to. But certainly, as an early part of the storyline, to see them, the dominance they had here was that tag team run with all the gold there, what it could have led to, how it would have brought WCW into the mix, how the invasion probably could have been booked so differently. It's truly a shame that really things panned out the way that it did.
Yeah, because I think ultimately it would have probably just led to a WWE Championship match between Austin and Triple H. We would have seen them lose the tag titles. We would have seen Triple H lose their IC title, and it would have led to that match that, do you know what I mean? We sit there and bang on about now, like Seth Rollins and Bron Breakker are currently a faction, but everyone's already pre-booking like these two breaking up and facing each other for a world title. It's just one of those things, and like I said, for this quality that they put into just this is just a tag team match as well. And like I said, the storytelling, like you said, with Austin and when he tags in and he cowers into the corner instantly because Taker's been tagged in, it's just such good stuff, man. And this was very 97, 98 Austin for me, when he was an original heel, when he was winning the Rumbles and stuff like that. This was very much I wouldn't say a nostalgia, but just like almost a callback to how Austin used to be as a heel. And obviously emphasize that with the point that we've had we've had WrestleMania, we've had him side with Vince, and it's almost like he's going back to that point where he is top heel and he is booed before like he becomes a baby face. And Triple H obviously just being one of the best in the game at the time. And yeah, it's a shame obviously what happens to him, but I'm the same as you, man. It's kind of like, I know obviously Triple H and Austin have faced each other many times, but the way that this story was panning out, this probably could have been a really special rivalry.
Certainly, indeed. It's actually ironic as well because they had actually wrestled 2 months earlier at No Way Out in 2001. 3 Stages of Hell match is one of my favorite matches in wrestling history to go back and watch. And yeah, maybe one we should go and review on this channel at some point in the future. But yeah, it's interesting. I suppose the only hindsight, I suppose, without the Triple H injury, probably don't get the Austin Angle stuff, with the small cowboy hats backstage and stuff like that, probably, which was a blessing in itself. But yeah. This was the end of this one, and what will be your star rating then for what was a strong main event here with the 2-man power trip and Brotherhood of Destruction?
I don't know what this match was lacking. I mean, I couldn't give it 5 stars because I thought it, even though it is really good, I gave it 4.25. Like, I don't know whether it was a case of, I don't know, maybe I think if Taker and Kane had won, I could have probably bumped this up a bit more. But like you build, I think, like I said, ultimately this was one of those matches that was on the road to a bigger. It was on the road to being a 5-star match, and this was just one of those key points. But I went with 4.25.
I like it. I've gone with 3.5 for me. Maybe I'm going to bump it slightly more because I think for me it's match of the night. So 3 3/4 I'm going to go for. Then it definitively is above the Hardcore Championship match earlier in the night. There's more depth of storytelling in this match, and I'm a storytelling guy as much as I do like some fun hardcore action as well. I mean,
I said if I have to stop taking notes to watch it because I'm so awed by it, I think that for me makes it special in itself, because it's a case of like, how many times do we do these retro reviews? It's very rarely that I'll genuinely stop taking notes to watch the match and enjoy it, and this was just one of them, man. Like I said, just Tag Team Wrestling 101, me being such a fanboy for Tag Team Wrestling, it's just great, man.
Absolutely, indeed, yeah. And this match as well, 25 minutes and 3 seconds long, so it's a lengthy match as well, and it certainly has your attention throughout. Looking at the Dave Meltzer style rating, just going to call it out very quickly. So we have the number for you, and this one is give a 3-star rating. So let's just give it just 3 stars. Yeah, I
mean, I said times have changed, and like I said, I think I probably appreciate this more now because, like I said, same as every time, man. We're a bit more clued up. We're 20 years older, and we just kind of appreciate the the little details a lot more than we did back then. Like, I imagine as a 16-year-old, I would have wanted Taker and Kane to win because they're the baby faces, and you want the baby faces to win. So, like I said, I'm just a bit glad that we're watching it back now, and I can appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that wholeheartedly. So that's pretty much our review then of Backlash 2001. So we have our little mini topics we go through to close off the video. So let's go through those now and see what we come up with as our answers. So first off, OMG moment of the night.
Well, it's a bit obvious really what the OMG moment of the night is. It would be Shane McMahon coming off the top of that unit.
I have to agree. Yeah, Shane McMahon all the way gets the vote for that one. Match of the night.
I mean, main event's kind of really, you know what I mean? I loved it so much that I had to stop working to, appreciate it.
Yeah, it is match of the night for me, although I do appreciate a good hardcore match. And I wanted to joke by saying the Duchess of Queensberry match, but no, honestly, it has to be that tag team match. Entrance of the night.
I mean, I could say X Factor just because, but it was the wrong music for me. I mean, I'm going to say Taker just because, I used to love seeing the motorbike. I was a big motorbike fan as well, so it was always nice to see the quality of motorcycle he'd be riding. So I say Taker.
Undertaker for me, but because I forgot they had Limp Bizkit rolling at that time, I popped big time. I loved Limp Bizkit back in the day. I did make a slight note that when Austin came out, I put, oh my god, I forgot this is his Def Rebel remix, because he's honestly the worst Austin music where they start putting the rapping over the top. Yeah. To be fair, I don't hate it, but obviously it's never better than the original. Austin has the original music, so yeah, Limp Bizkit rolling for Taker. I'm not gonna do some Limp Bizkit on air for you, but I can tell you I can do that entire album, the Chocolate Starfish, word for word.
Definitely, 100%.
MVP of the night.
Look, Shane McMahon, dude takes a 50-foot bump. I'm going to give him MVP of the night.
Do you know, it should be Shane McMahon, but I'm going to give it the nod to Paul Heyman. I thought it was amazing on commentary from start
Good
to finish.
shout. Very good shout.
Going to get it from me. And final rating of Backlash 2001. Your score out of 10, please.
7 out of 10. I said it's not the greatest card, but I said like you said, the hardcore match is really good, and the main event is honestly killer. And it's not like there's a bad match on this card too. Aside from, like I said, maybe this ultimate submission match. Otherwise, I think this is a solid card across the board.
I think this is a good show. I'm not going to go as high as a 7. I'm going to say 6.5. But I think that's the lower end of a good show. It's a good show. It's not a great show. I think this show is helped with the main event. And like I said, for me, the two matches you should go out of your way to watch. Shane McMahon's spot as well. And you should go and watch the hardcore match. Those are the 3 things that you need to have your takeaways from the show. The rest of it, it's pretty much filler and probably arguably skippable.
Fair enough.
But all in all, I think that this has been a fun one to review NXT. So a big thank you to our subscribers for giving us the vote for Backlash 2001. We might be back before the next month PLE with a rewind, because there's a couple of occasions coming up. NXT, I'll be talking to you off air in a minute. But one thing we do know for sure, it's Money in the Bank season coming up shortly. So Money in the Bank will be the next voted topic for our subscribers. So if you want to get involved with this and you're liking the format of Rewind and you want to be involved with the voting, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit the like video on the video as well. Comment your memories of Backlash 2001. And like you say, as you're subscribed, when you see the poll come up for Money in the Bank and which show you should vote for, just go and click on the show you want to see. And all of a sudden, that show could be the one that's won. And all of a sudden, myself and Nick Steve, we're forced to watch it and we're forced to review it. And I can tell you, in the past, we've had some good shows. Sometimes we've had some bad shows. So we look forward to what you're going to give us for.
The audience are famous for always picking the one I don't want to review. So I always look forward to that.
We'll see if that'll be the case for Money in the Bank. But we hope you've enjoyed this one. If you want to see more from the channel in the meantime, then check out some Backlash content, as it's Backlash week here on the channel. Worst match ever? Damian Priest versus The Miz, Zombie Lumberjacks. You can click on the side of the screen right now. And also, you can check out as well our Backlash 2025 predictions as well. And do you know what? We're going to do a triple header. There's a sport for choice today. You can go and actually click on the playlist for more SCW Rewinds if you like the old school content. Thanks for watching. Look after yourselves and each other. We'll see you for the next one.